VAR is just the technology, right?
Yeah.
If the people who are operating the technology do not operate it correctly, you can't then blame the technology. So I'll take you back to the Women's World Cup when Scotland played Argentina in the last group game.
Yes.
And they had that ridiculous penalty,
wasn't it?
Which, so it was in the 90th minute, and it took 7.5 minutes to decide, and she only played 3 minutes of injury time. And so that wasn't the technology. That was the people using the technology who messed it up. Now, the rule makers aren't helping the referees, right? Now, this ridiculous handball decision at the minute is, that is wasting the game. But that's not VAR. That's the rules. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, so you can't say, VAR is ruining the game. I was like, no, it's not. VAR is making it better because it's eliminating offsides. It's, it's clearing up penalty decisions. It's clearing up. So it's working. It's the people who make the rules that need to improve, not the technology. And in my humble opinion, James, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So if this, I don't think there's any football fan in the world thinks this handball rule is a good idea, because nobody really knows what it is. And I mean, that penalty Newcastle got against Tottenham last week was utterly ludicrous.
Yeah.
But it's the rules. So VAR worked because it enforced the rules. It's not the technology's fault that the rules are wrong. So instead of shouting about VAR should get out the game, no, the rules should be clearer and, more flexible. I think that's where I sit on it anyway.
I've thought for a while, and I know Gary Lineker has mentioned it a few times, is the idea that sort of any time the ball hits the hand, should just be a handball. It should just be given as a handball. Is that an option? Well, what would your opinion? Because I think that would be a way of stopping like any kind of problems. And I generally don't think that players will dribble the ball and try and flick it up into someone's hand. I don't think that'll happen. But it'll just a bit like in hockey when the ball hits someone's foot. It's just a sort of penalties kind of given. They don't really complain. It's just a kind of like one of the things that happens. And what would you think if that was if that was proposed and the FIFA sort of ring up and say, Dave, we need your opinion. What do you reckon? Should we make this a rule?
So no, I think we're overcomplicating a really simple issue. So if the ball goes to your hand, it's not a penalty. If your hand goes to the ball, then it is a penalty, I think. And VAR, the technology would quite easily distinguish between the two. So you get up there. Did Eric Dyer's hand go to the ball last week against Newcastle? No, it didn't. Mm-hmm. Did the ball hit his arm when he had no control over it? Yes, it did. No penalty, game over.
Yeah,
I think we're completely oversimplifying one of the simplest things in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I do think VAR is whenever you were in the pub or when you were chatting about a game and there was one guy who was adamant to say no that goal's definitely offside, or no, we definitely should have had a penalty when that part of me I just feel like football is being run by that guy, every result like given, every dodgy result, every dodgy decision you can have is being sort of given, like every time there's a slight brush of a hand, especially last season anyway, goals chalked off, looking back and seeing if there was a possibility that we can rule out this goal, which felt totally the wrong way round to be sort of doing things.
What's the opposite of what it's there for?
Yeah, was that guy's heel offside? That guy who's on the right wing who in 30 seconds time is going to, because that's not what offside's about. It's about, having an advantage over the guy who's meant to be marking you, sort of thing. It shouldn't be that sort of thing. But yeah, I do think we're heading in the right direction with it, and hopefully this handball can get sorted out and, we can find something else to moan about.
Oh, I'm sure there's plenty out there. I tell you, do you know what I missed, James?
What?
Do you know what I missed?
What's that?
We haven't done an Usher versus Usher challenge in a while. We haven't.
Yeah.
So as I say, I didn't think about it like going into today, but it's just something I missed. So maybe next week we should look to bring that back.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think maybe next episode we should have an Usher versus Usher challenge. But do you know what? In the meantime, with it being with the transfer window kind of closing tomorrow and with us both being big fans of 90s football and especially 90s football trivia, and,
yes, of course.
Thirdly, since I'm since I'm currently locked down in Middlesbrough. Dave, do you ever listen to the podcast Athletico Mints?
After every single episode, yes.
It's really good, isn't it? And do you know what I really, really like? I really like Bob Mortimer's quizzes and little tests that he does, like for Andy. Do you like them as well?
I don't like them, James. I love them.
Oh, do you? Well, I
do.
Well, I've got a totally original idea that I've come up with, and it's called Screech, Oof, Ravanelli, Oink, Awooga, Juninho, Sneeze, Evening Gazette, Emerson, Clap, Why Can't We Be Friends, Branco.
I am well up for this.
And so basically, with the I don't know if you were as familiar as I was, but in the 90s, Middlesbrough went from being a middle of the road kind of team to a Premier League team, and under the bright young chairman Steve Gibson, they spent a lot of money on some very, very flamboyant and international signings. So Dave, what you've got to do is you've got to put these 4 transfers in order from most expensive to least expensive, all the way around if that's your bag. So we've got Fabrizio Ravanelli, who signed from Juventus to Middlesbrough in 1996. We've got Juninho, and we're talking about his first transfer to Middlesbrough in 1995. We've got the flamboyant midfielder Emerson, who joined from Porto in 1996. And we've got the World Cup winning left back, Branco, who signed in 1996 from Corinthians as well. So can you put those four transfers in order from most to least expensive for Middlesbrough?
Okay. So I'm going to go with Juninho being most expensive, then Emerson, then Ravanelli, then Branco.
Oh, Dave, you were so close, but unfortunately you are incorrect. It was Fabrizio Ravanelli, who was £7 million when they signed him. In 1996, that is a lot of money. That was a lot of money for them to spend back then. That's you're sort of thinking that could get you with Stan Collymore at that kind of time, couldn't it?
Well, yes, and you'd be lucky to get him at that price.
And then you had the next was Juninho, who was 4.5 million. Who, let's be honest, that was a steal. He could have played for He could have played for any team in the Premier League, I think, in that sort of time. He cost a lot more when he came back from Atletico Madrid, or when they sold him to Atletico Madrid a few years later. Then Emerson was 3.7 million from Porto. I think Middlesbrough fans will have mixed feelings on how well he did, how he left the club. And World Cup winning left back Branco was actually on a free transfer, I believe it was. There was definitely less than 3.7 million. So he's the least expensive of those options, and he lasted about a year before he got sacked by Middlesbrough. So
I got 1 out of 4.
Yeah, you got one. So Dave, thank you for playing Screech, Oof, Ravanelli, Oink, Awooga, Juninho, Sneeze, Evening Gazette, Emerson, Clap, Why Can't We Be Friends, Branco.
Excellent. I enjoyed that immensely, James. And do you know, I'm really impressed that you came up with such an original idea as well. Well done.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it just it just came to me. Yeah, and by the way, yeah, I do quite enjoy Atletico Mints.
Okay, so that just before we sort of finish up on this, we'll have a quick roundup of the Women's Premier League. So that is back today after a kind of after the sort of FA Cup exertions. So here, kind of in a similar way that we are following the Rajasthan Royals in the IPL, I was kind of looking to see if there was a team that we could maybe connect with in the women's game. And I suggest, James, why don't we adopt Durham Women as our as the Sporty Ushers team that we support. Now, they got a 2-2 victory, a 2-2 draw today against the City. But yeah, so I suggest to make it more interesting, to give us a team to get behind, we will check up on the performances of Durham, if that's agreeable to you.
Absolutely, yeah. And we will still, don't worry, we still will be following Hartlepool United's women's team and Hamilton's women's team once they get the seasons up and running. Hartlepool had a good win on the first game of their season as well. So yeah, we will be following them. But yeah, Durham Durham women are a really good team for us to throw our weight behind.
So I think as well they were very much they were very unlucky not to gain promotion. Actually, they kind of fell right at the last hurdle at the end of last season. So there's some good stuff going on there. So we will get behind Durham ladies. As I say, that was a 2-2 draw with Leicester City today. So well done to them. So we'll just have a look at the Super League. I keep calling it the Premier League, but it's the Super League. So, where are we? Let's have a look at the results today. Manchester United. So, the one thing that bothers me about women's football, and it is that you have to say Manchester United women or England women or Scotland women. So surely if you're watching women play football, right, you can tell that it's a women's football team without having to be told that it's a women's football team. Yeah. So I think until the day that Manchester United women just become Manchester United, then I don't think we'll ever have true equality in that. And I haven't kind of spoken to any women footballers and how they feel about the women tag being applied. So I'm going to read the results out from the Super League today, but I'm going to drop the women tab from it if that's all right. So Manchester United 3, Brighton Hove Albion 0, Manchester City 4, Tottenham Hotspur 1, Arsenal 3, Bristol City 1, Birmingham City 0, Chelsea 1, and West Ham United 0, Reading 1. That goes on from yesterday's game, which was Aston Villa 0, Everton 6. So it looks like Everton are having a good season everywhere. So it looks like, as I say, there's a few times, I think that like West Ham, Aston Villa tend to look like they're kind of the weaker sort of teams, but and again, I think by the end of the season, you'll see like Chelsea, Manchester City and Arsenal sort of rise to the top. But I think it's only a good thing that Manchester United, Tottenham, the bigger clubs in England are actually starting to put a bit of money behind the women's. That can only grow the game, which can only be a good thing.
Oh yeah, and I think we will see. I think we'll see a lot of them. Alex Morgan as well is one of the best players in the world, and having signed for Tottenham, I think that's a big sign that Tottenham are going to look at sort of improving in their team. We mentioned, the FA Cup was kind of like last weekend, and if you managed to watch the Tottenham Arsenal kind of match between the two, it kind of like is where kind of the sort of the top half and the bottom half, it kind of shows the difference where Tottenham managed to match Arsenal for big chunks of the game, but it was just like a bit of extra quality from Arsenal, and then they kind of like put their foot on the accelerator and ended up winning 4-0. And I think that is what you see in a lot of the games, is that the better teams are steamrolling some of the teams, but it is because they are good players. It's not because the Readings and the Brighton and Hove Albions aren't good teams. It is because Arsenal have got, and Man City have got world class players, and Chelsea as well. And I do think it is going to be like a 3-way shootout between them two. And I think in the next season, I think Man United will be joining them, so it could be a very, very exciting top four. And if Tottenham want to get involved as well, it could be like we said last week. We're not talking about this next season. The next sort of couple of years of women's football is going to be spectacular. I think.
I think especially the more these teams play, and the thing is, Tottenham now are going to aren't able to hang with Arsenal for 90 minutes, right? But 2 years down the line, and especially if they can keep a hold of some of these international superstars that they've got, then the sky's the limit. And as I say, the more competitive the league gets, the more players play against better players, then, that's just good for the game in general. And I think just if I could draw a comparison to Hamilton now, on the men's side right now, we came into this league 7 years ago, right, with young boys and stuff like that. We play against better players, so the boys get better. And so that's going to happen here. That's going to happen to your Readings and your Birminghams and stuff. The more they play, and you know what? The more they learn. So they're going to go and get tonked 9-0 off Arsenal one week, right? They're not going to want to repeat that. So then the more money that gets put in, the more training, the more that they get professional, because it's not a professional league. The Super League is professional, is that correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah, they are professional.
So that's only going to improve them as well. Like, because I say, and because I know in Scotland, so Glasgow City, they got to the quarterfinals of the Champions